Hi, this is Trey Lockerbie, and you're at Popularity.
Light Therapy is due out soon on November 9th. Looking back, are you satisfied?
Am I satisfied? Yeah, I couldn't be more satisfied, actually, with it. I spent a long time working on it and kind of perfected it to my standards, and I'm happy to release it as is. So,
How has the tour been? How do you feel that people are reacting to the new music?
the reaction has been incredible, actually, so far. I think that has a lot to do with the headliner, Joe Ferguson. I think he and I have a similar demographic, and his fans have really adapted to my show and seem to really enjoy it. So it's been a really good bill and a fun tour so far. I couldn't really ask for more. Joe is the kind of artist that, like, you love watching every night, so he keeps it entertaining, and yeah, it's been a fun couple weeks so far. I'm happy to do 5 more.
Can you describe how you approach your music?
How I approach music is it kind of approaches me in a way, I guess. I really can't sit down and be like, okay, I'm going to write this song. It just sort of happens, and because of that, I'm not a very prolific writer. Like, Light Therapy has 4 songs on it, and I have 3 songs released before that, and haven't written that much more. The songs kind of come when they come, and then they're almost ready-made when it happens. I kind of get the feeling, sit down, write it, and the music, I want it to be sort of a unfolding piece of movements rather than just pop songs, even though I consider myself a pop artist, pop folk artist, I guess. But yeah, so it's kind of, I like the words and the music to be symbiotic, and as far as that, as long as that happens, then I'm usually happy with how it turns out.
What would you say are some of the key challenges that you face during your creative process when you're sitting down and writing?
Oh man, well, challenges. If anything, it's writer's block. It's just some degree. But what's cool about Light Therapy is that I took a totally different angle for writing. Like, all of those songs were actually poems that I wrote and then later put to music. And what's cool about that is I got the whim to write the words and then got that out. And then once I found an instrument, I was able to write the music to the words, and you have to stay truthful to the format that you've already created just with the words. So instead of like doing something formulaic, you end up coming up with, like I said, like different movements instead of, oh, now here comes a chorus or a bridge or something like that. And I had never really written like that until now, and I think it's probably how I'm going to try and write, at least for the time being.
What would you say are the biggest things that you learned about yourself during the creation of the album?
Well, that's a good question, because I actually had written like a few other songs that we tried to record that just weren't me, and it wasn't my sound. I actually started with a producer and then ended up producing the record myself, because I was on the path of finding my own sound that differentiates me from every other dude with the guitar, and I feel like that's what we found in this EP, and it's got a little bit of everything. It's got, I feel like, every side to me just in 4 songs, even though I feel like I have a lot more music to put out from here on out. I feel like it's a good start. It's a good catalyst or a good introduction, overall to my personality. You kind of see a few different angles within the 12 minutes of the EP.
Can you talk about some of the highs and the lows that you went through while recording?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I said, well, I started out with a producer, and due to scheduling between my touring schedule and his busyness, being booked up all the time, it just took. It took about a year now to start the production and then finish it, and for 4 songs, that's an awfully long time. So I had a lot of ups and downs. we'd come in, especially at the first part, we'd record a lot. We'd have a few days of recording, and then we'd have to leave the project alone for like weeks or months at a time. And you really lose momentum when you do that. Recording really consists, I mean, it's really built on getting into the spirit of it and getting some momentum going, getting everyone who's playing on the record vibing with each other. And it was kind of hard to pick up here and there, and we ended up, you know, when I had to pick it up myself and start producing it, we ended up recording most of it in Nashville and knocked out pretty much all of the basic tracking, and then I added little bits when I was in LA and maybe back somewhere else in Nashville here and there. But the highs and lows kind of came and went in between those interim periods where we weren't recording, you know, and you're kind of wondering, well, what's the next step? Because I kind of had to take charge of it myself and make it happen on my own budget that I was, you know, out raising money for on the road, playing music for other people, and then recording wherever I could. So, but in the long scheme of things, it couldn't have happened any other way, because throughout that time, I was growing and I was learning about myself and what I really wanted to put out there. So it gave me really good leverage of knowing, you know, what my sound was. It just, the longer it was, like, the better I think the product became. So it actually worked in my favor, although it was sort of a tedious process.
Did any of the songs surprise you by taking a different direction than you initially thought that they would?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good question. I think so. Actually, moving to Montauk, when I wrote it, it was sort of, you know, I wrote it on an acoustic guitar, and I guess in my mind I didn't hear it as big as it ended up being. I mean, that song is probably the biggest rock and roll type song that I have now. And once we kind of got in that direction, it was almost like the ceiling broke off and we could just keep going, and I think that really helped it climax more and, you know, be, you know, more, what's the right word? I mean, it's like that song just became bigger than I intended it or thought it was going to be, and I'm probably the most proud of that song now.
Do you find that when you perform songs that they're evolving or changing with each time you play them? Do songs grow?
Yeah, they do grow. I try and, you know, I like the growth of songs as long as it's natural. I think for me, I enjoy very much how they were written and performing them the same way every night, but I definitely try and embellish here and there when I can. I don't like when artists change the songs every time they play them, and I don't think the audience likes that either. But I really, you know, my song Hummingbird that I wrote, and it was on my first EP, Hummingbird EP, we usually now play it as like a piano kind of ballad, which was not how it was written, but that's kind of how it's grown into, you know, that's kind of its life on the road now. So now I can be happier with that too. So, and moving to Montauk, obviously, when you're out touring just basically acoustic, which I've been for most of these dates, you have to, obviously you don't have the firepower to, or the instrumentation to pull off what you recorded, so you have to be creative with how you present the song. You have to kind of go back to the drawing board and strip it down and build it back up with whatever instrumentation you have, hoping that it'll do it just as much justice. And that's the whole creative process in itself. You know, it's almost like a rewriting of the song, or just, you know, when you're making a new rendition of it. So, yeah.
Can you describe your attraction to music?
My attraction to it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can. That's a good question. My attraction to music is, man, I mean, it's like, the music feels like my subconscious, you know, it feels like a connection between, you know, my mind and the reality of life going on. I mean, because it kind of alters your state of mind, you know, like, it's very powerful for me to, it really sets my mood, you know, like if I'm in a certain mood and you put on a different genre of music, maybe if I'm like, really chilled out and you put on a rock and roll record, I might like, you get excited or something, or you perk up a little bit. And I feel like music is very powerful in that sense. And I don't know what originally attracted me to music. It wasn't, it was more of the being creative side to it, and the writing side to it, and that became the whole transition into the playing of the music, and once you actually get out there and start playing for people, and you realize, oh, like people relate to this material, then that's the most rewarding thing of all. So once you experience that, you become even more attracted to it, because it's camaraderie between you and total strangers that you never met, and then it's kind of self-soothing in a way too, because it's like, its own type of therapy and its own type of connection between you and people you've never met.
Do you have anything that you'd like to say to the readers of Popularity?
Well, I'd like to say that I'm very thankful for this, interview, and then hopefully they'll pick up the record on November 9th and give my record a chance and take a listen to it, and hopefully come see it somewhere on the road, because we're probably stopping somewhere near there. We're on a 30-day tour, so yeah.